right, how we doing, Jeff? Excited for another WGC? Coming off a little layoff from Quicken Loans. Kind of a weak field. Exciting for Billy Hurley, but excited to get back into a premier field event.
Yeah, it's last week was weird, man. I don't know. The top of the leaderboard just didn't really do it for me. I mean, it was nice. It's nice to see Billy Hurley get the win, but other than that, I mean, I didn't really want to watch Ernie Els and Vijay Singh go at it, to be honest. So.
Yeah, one of the weird things is, I mean, this event, the Quicken Loans, is normally a slightly better field. Obviously, it's been like an invitational type for Tiger Woods, but it was the third weakest field this week based on our calculation that we do a metric for, just the way it felt. So it was kind of odd to see, premier course, typically a premier event, but it was one of the lowest ranking overall fields that we've seen all year. So.
Yeah, that is. I mean, that's was kind of bizarre, wasn't it? I mean, I think, and then you just had guys like coming in and maybe a little bit, unmotivated after the major and stuff like that. So I think you just had a few guys play not quite as good as you thought, and then the top players kind of slumping, and yeah, it just ended up that way. So nice story with Billy Hurley, but I'm glad that tournament's over. It was also extremely chalky, wasn't it? I mean, like you had to have 6 of 6 just to have a chance at cashing anything. Usually it doesn't work out that way. So
it was nuts. I mean, I didn't play any GPP really last week, and all I did was cash. And I mean, out of the 60 entries that we had for cash, I think 50 of them were 6 of 6, and we basically made a couple of dollars. We didn't even.
Yeah.
I would expect to double up if I did that well, but not this time around. So.
Yeah, that's if you broke even last week, you're probably pretty happy. So. So yeah. Anyways, let's stop talking about the Quicken Loans because we got the WGC. This is a bit of a weird one too, just in the idea that there's only 60 people. Usually these events are like 70, 75-ish, but there's so many people skipping this one because the French Open and which is an event over in Europe, and then the Olympics. So scheduling. So this one's kind of reduced too. It's still obviously way better field, so I mean it's more interesting from that perspective.
Yeah, I mean, the course is great. Obviously, a lot of history here, a lot of solid winners over time. Obviously, one of Tiger's favorite tracks. Unfortunately, he's still on the bench, but I mean, I'm ready to kind of jump right into it. I mean, I have some guys that I really like based on the numbers. We were able to get a little ahead of the analysis this week. Obviously, it always feels like an easier week coming back, after that major hangover. So, I mean, of the top guys, you still got Day, DJ, Speed. Those are the guys over 11,000. I mean, who do you like out of them?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I feel like Spieth is probably the guy who's going to get overlooked a little bit this week. Doesn't mean I like him necessarily, but ownership-wise, he might be the lowest of the three. I don't know. I still don't know exactly how this week's going to break down ownership-wise, too, so maybe I shouldn't speak too much. But, I mean, I think Jason Day is due for a bounce back here. I mean, I know the course history isn't in his favor, but I think we can throw out course history with some of the stuff with Jason Day. I think it'll come down to whether he can, how many fairways he can hit. If he has a good week with the driver on the long holes, and then he can keep his long irons, or if he uses long irons just to keep it in the fairways too. I think he could have a chance to run away with this personally. So I'm liking Jason Day out of those three. I get the idea. I get the case that a lot of people like Dustin Johnson. I mean, that obviously makes a ton of sense too.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the form on DJ is great, but he actually is, ranking just outside the top half for our course history metric. I mean, he actually hasn't played, too well here. I mean,
no.
You look at his finishes. I mean, his best finish is a 15th, and that was back in 2010. An average finish of 31.7, average DraftKings points at 56.3, which puts him, like I said, just below the 50% mark of the field. So it's kind of surprising, but it's one of those things where maybe the form trumps it. But if you're gonna go up that much and spend, you probably want a little more confidence.
Here's the interesting thing about Dustin Johnson. Someone pointed this out to me last year. he does well on courses where he can drive it and cut the course a little bit, and you can't really cut this course because it's just dead straight.
Yeah.
So he's got to hit the fairway. It's not like he can't hit the fairway. It's not like he can't win on this course, but like you have to be solid off the tee here, and he might not get as big an advantage just with the just bombing it down there as he might on other courses. So I just wonder if that's the reason why for his struggles. That's just me sort of trying to put two and two together, but it maybe makes sense just because of the nature. This course is like dead straight basically in a lot of spots, so yeah, it just might not suit him more than anything. But yeah, his course history is weirdly bad, so definitely not shocked to hear he's coming up a little bit worse than usual for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense what you say because you think about cutting off corners and hitting it high over the edges. Essentially, when that's the case, you have a wider landing area because if you're playing into a fairway that's angled off, it's actually a wider landing. It's not as thin as it playing straight on, which, like you're saying here, is a little more the case.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of why I like Jason Day. I think he's just learned to control it and kind of play to his strengths on different courses this year. I think this course sets up well for him in that perspective. Like if he plays like that, like I said, I mean, I really think he could run away with this. I don't look. I mean, Jordan Spieth again. Maybe this course does play into more of his strengths than some of these other courses we've seen just for that same reason. But I'll still take Day over Spieth. So yeah, I'm definitely going to go Jason Day. I don't hate Adam Scott this week. Kind of interested in Justin Rose. Not sure if I'm going to gamble with him or not, but yeah, I mean, both those guys set up pretty well. Rose is a fantastic driver of the ball, so obviously has like the great course history too. Anyone else popping up like big time for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Scott is he's going to be my one and done for the week. I feel like he's the kind of guy that does really well in these small field premier events. If he does have a bad putting week, it's not going to kill you because he's going to play all 4 rounds. But one of the things that really popped out to us this week when we were doing the key stats was all of the approach numbers, and not particularly one range, but strokes gained approach, which is obviously a metric we've only been using for the last few weeks. But even regular proximity overall, that was one of the more important metrics, and he's just way ahead of the field. I mean, he's first in the field in strokes gained approach. He's just ahead of Jason Duffner, who he's a specialist when it comes to that, whereas Scott can kind of do it all around. You look at his par 4 scoring, his R data is he's top 10 in the field in par 4 scoring, which has a par 70. You're not looking at the par 3s and par 5s nearly as much as you would in a normal week. He's top 20 in birdie or better and bogey or worse. So if you're looking at both ends of that spectrum, I think Scott's definitely a guy that we're interested in this week.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. Like I said, normally I'd be revving Justin Rose up maybe for this week, but he struggled. It's not just the injury either. It's I really hate the way he's putted this year. Like I don't get with these guys changing putting grips in the middle of the year, but Ricky's done it too now. So that's something else to take note of. Like Fowler changed his putting grip. He putted horribly last week.
I know.
But yeah, so I definitely go Scott over Rose. I like that. Even though Rose has a strong course history, yeah, I can see where you're going, and I'm not shocked to hear that about Adam Scott. He's got a pretty good course history here too. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you just step down, based on the model, our number 1 guy this week is actually Matt Kuchar. 8 straight cuts, 3rd in recent form, 1st in key stats. We have him 6th in the field in course history. In his 6 starts here, his average finish 16.7. You look at that, and let's see. His worst is 27. He hasn't finished worse than 27. So he's never finished outside the top half of the field. That includes 2 top 10s, the 12th in 2014. So. And he's obviously been playing well for a long stretch now. So I think at that price, he's definitely playing as well as anyone else.
Yeah, I mean, and he's under 10K, so I mean, he's not like break the bank. He's not like that U.S. Open price, but
yeah,
still, It's like you said. I mean, you need someone to finish in the top half of the field. You want a guaranteed like top 25. That's probably Matt Kuchar this week. So yeah, I'm not shocked to hear it. I wonder how many people, like with Jim Furyk back playing good. I don't even think Furyk's going to be that, or Kuchar's even going to be that highly owned. I think more people might get on Furyk just because of the recency bias too. So it's kind of interesting. Like I think Kuchar's always a good cash game player. He might even be less owned than say like Furyk and GPPs though.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Furyk, I mean, team course history has got to be all over it. I mean, in the last 10 years, he's got five top tens. He only had one really bad finish here in 2009, but at that price point, you might be right. I mean, I would expect in my mind Matt Kuchar to be higher owned, but if you look at the course history and just stepping down on the price, then it'd be hard pressed to see people not taking Furyk.
Yeah, it's just a recency thing too, right? I mean, he came through at the U.S. Open. He actually came through pretty nicely last week. I mean, he saved what was looking like a bad week with the 21st. So people figure Jim Furyk's back, and just say, oh yeah, okay, I'll take the little $300 discount. So something to keep in mind for GPPs. I don't think Matt Kuchar is going to be that popular this week, which is makes him more interesting in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, definitely when you get into these types of fields, he takes a step back, even though,
Yeah.
He's just, listen, he's a Bridgestone guy that wears Skechers. He's not the sexy guy. Like, when it comes to these fields, like, you don't see him and get all excited, whereas, it's somewhere like the Heritage and places like that where he's one of the top couple guys, everyone's on him. He falls back a little this week, but I don't think there's any reason for that.
Yeah, no, completely. Especially for cash games, he makes a ton of sense. So, I mean, I assume Brooks Koepka is showing up pretty good for you guys too. I mean, I mean, the way he finished the U.S. Open, the way he's been trending, I expect he'll be the highest owned player.
Yeah, I mean, we have, we have 6 guys in our first class, which is a fatter first class for us. He's one of them. 6 cuts, top 20 in the field in all 3 recent form key stats course history. He's only got the one finish here. It was 6th place though, so he obviously had success here last year. Like you're saying, that hot final round, getting excited. In terms of ownership, I don't know if he'll be highest owned, but I'm guessing he'll be top 3. I'm trying to think. I don't know. If he was in like the low 9s, I would probably say yeah, but. He is creeping up. I mean, he might as well be 10,000 at 9,900. I think that 9 in front might draw interest, but it's going to be tough. If he's not first, he's definitely top 3. I would say for ownership.
Interesting thing about Koepka too. I mean, he looks expensive, but comparative to the odds, he's actually a value this week. The only people ranked above him in most of the odds that I've seen are Day, Johnson, and Spieth. So he's actually odds-wise, he actually has worse odds worse to bet odds, but lower odds than Adam Scott, Justin Rose, Bubba Watson. So a lot of books are making him like the 4th favorite this week, but he's only like the 7th or 8th guy on DK. So it's kind of interesting. Yeah, I mean the books definitely, obviously, see him coming. I think he's going to be the most popular play, although. Maybe it depends on how popular like Jason Day is going to be. I don't know. I see Day and Dusty kind of splitting each other a bit, but I guess we'll have to see. I think Koepka, he'll definitely be top 3 though, for sure.
Yeah, Mike mentioned in the chat there, Matsuyama at 9.3, it seemed cheap, and I'm like, it does, but relative to everyone else in the field, his form is just not as solid as the most elite players in the game.
Yeah, exactly. He's someone was telling me his putting hasn't been great lately. So, I mean, that can obviously change, but at the same time, we're talking about a course he hasn't had a ton of great finishes on either. So, I mean, yeah, you're kind of asking to turn it around at a place where he hasn't showed like a propensity to do well, so I'm probably fine leaving Matsuyama off. At the same time, like, he's not going to miss many more cuts. I mean, they don't call him Hideki bot for nothing, right? So
Yeah, of course.
his tee to green game is never going to be that far off. And once it gets back, he's probably going to start top tenning everything. So, like, I agree. I mean, I think for GPPs, you could definitely consider him this week. I don't really feel the need. I wouldn't feel the need to like use him over other guys in cash games maybe. But the price isn't that bad. It's just, yeah. I mean, comparative to the field and how he's been playing, it's probably pretty accurate actually.
Let's see.
So what about Reed and Fowler? I mean, we should probably talk about those two guys a bit, shouldn't we? I mean.
Yeah, I mean, Reed. Listen, Reed technically doesn't make our top class, but he's first in the second class. He's only got 2 events here, but he performed well enough to be first in our course history ranking. So he's obviously played extremely well here. He's been playing extremely well as of late. We're still waiting for that. The week that he leads the field in strokes gained putting, he's going to win by 8 strokes.
Yeah.
That's kind of the issue.
Yeah. No, for sure. And like I didn't check on his stats yet from last week, but yeah, he just him and Fowler just both kind of stalled out. I think with Ricky it was kind of a combination of driver and putter, but I didn't check up on Patrick Reed as much. But I don't know. I mean, are you on these? I know obviously it sounds like you might be back on Reed this week, but I don't know. It's I don't know what to do with Fowler at this point. He's like he looks like value this week. Last week he was looking like a good play in a weak field. So at the same time, you don't want to keep chasing guys who are in bad form. But another time, it's like, well,
yeah, I mean,
they're still quality players, right?
Yeah, between the two, I'm still on Reed. He has given me more than Fowler. So if you're talking about the price, but I would say this week is the least I've been on Reed over the past 2 months. That's not saying much because I've been extremely high on him. So I don't hate him this week, but he's not going to be a guy that I feel like I have to have all the time.
Yeah.
I'll probably have him in a couple of the cash lineups. I haven't really thought about how I'm going to go about cash this week because, my biggest focus is that balanced lineup, getting 6 of 6 through. But this week I might not go with only 2-3 lineups like I normally do, and I might spread it out because they're all going to make the cut. So it's like who's most likely to withdraw? Like I won't pick them. So
yeah.
I think this is where Furyk withdrew last year, or no? I can't remember.
Oh, maybe it was. Yeah.
I'm trying to
think. I think you're right. I think it was where he withdrew last year.
Let me see. Course history by year.
That sounds about right. It might have been a playoff.
No. He finished well. He finished third. It was like an event or two after this. I think I remember.
I think it was a playoff event or something. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
But and I mean that seems to always happen. These stupid WGCs. I don't like the WGCs. I actually don't mind playing them for fantasy. I just don't like them like in general. So.
Yeah.
They are a different strategy for cash games though. I mean I think they sort of lend themselves to doing a bit more stars and scrubs for cash games and stuff. But that being said, you still need to pick the right top guys. I mean, if you pick if you go with Dustin Johnson in cash games and then he finishes 30th, like you're really screwed. So, but at the same time, that's just kind of the way these weeks work down because usually one of the top guys ends up getting like a top 5 and then having him as such a huge anchor to your cash games because everyone else, like you said, is getting 4 rounds and then so you get one value play and it's like
events like this, it's is a solid cash lineup going superstars and scrubs. It's going 3 guys at 9,500 and 10,000.
Yeah, it probably is. I mean that I think an optimal strategy probably is something like that. So. I mean, I always kind of struggle on these weeks too, just because you have to think differently. But I usually come down to doing something like that and just trying to plug in the guys at the bottom who I like the best. And I usually suck at picking them too, because that's another reason why I hate these events is because you don't get we don't have like Gary Woodland here, but we have like Marcus Fraser.
Oh my God! No.
Like give me a break. I mean, so then you have to predict which one of these guys who rarely ever plays in a field this strong is actually going to show up this week. So yeah, Nathan Holman, exactly. So it's kind of tough from that perspective. I have more issues with the bottom of this field than the top for sure. But yeah, we'll get to these guys, these losers at the bottom. So let's see. Anyone in the AK range that sticks out to you? I mean, I assume Daniel Berger's off the charts for your stats this week.
Yeah, I mean, listen, no course history, but we have him fourth in recent form, fourth in key stats. He's in our first class. He's second in points gained against price. He's averaging 14.16 points more than someone at that price. So for DraftKings, definitely, love everything about him at that price.
Yeah, for sure.
Guy makes a ton of birdies. Can really gets aggressive. So.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how he handles this course. Like, it's a little bit tricky greens, and he might, maybe suffer the same fate as like Dustin Johnson, just with the straightness of it. But at the same time, I wouldn't get off him or anything.
Yeah,
he's played so solidly. So.
Yeah, he's sixth in the field in birdie or better average. Our data is averaging almost 5% more birdies in the field he played against. On the same token, he's fourth in the field in bogey or worse. He's bogeying 6.1% less than the field. So he's straddling both lines there in terms of not messing up and also getting you those points.
Yeah. That's what you want. If you were picking from this range for like a GPP, let's assume Berger's going to be popular, so we'll cross him out. But
okay.
Other than Berger, from this range, who would you pick for a GPP?
In the eights?
Yeah, just in the 8K range.
I mean, probably looking at someone flipping a coin between Duffner and Zach Johnson. I mean, Zach Johnson, the only person, I shouldn't have to lie, one of three players that have played in this the last 10 years. He's averaged 21.7 on the average finish position, made 67 cuts. His trend score is number one in the field, so it just seems like he's starting to play a bit better. At that price, I think he's not a bad value. I mean, I think Leishman, the numbers are pretty comparable between the two, but ZJ's coming up slightly better for us in the model. So. Yeah.
Yeah, Zach's kind of interesting. I almost never play him, but just because I feel like he's a solid player, but I just almost never play him.
I know. I feel like he doesn't. He's just one of those guys. It's like.
He's just too ordinary for me or something. I don't know. Like I should play him every week, but or maybe it's just that when I have played him, he's finished like 50th. That's probably what it is. It's probably just some recency bias in my mind. But no, I was kind of interested in him this week. I'm not shocked to hear he's coming up okay. Obviously trending in the right direction. So is Duffner. Definitely like him for this week. The accuracy and stuff, obviously. I don't think you necessarily have to be long off the tee here, but you have to be consistent. Again, I think like getting the ball in play, definitely a big thing. It kind of reminds me of Oakmont a little bit in that sense that a guy like Duffner is going to be able to hit a lot of fairways and just give himself a chance at hitting a lot of greens as well. So, I kind of like Zach and Duffner just for both of those reasons. Two guys I could definitely see in the top 25 this week. So.
Yeah, I mean, the approach numbers for Duffner, obviously, where he sticks out. I mean, some of the other key stats he's not crushing the field in, but, in terms of that one being one of the more popular ones for us, it makes sense.
Yeah, so I'm on board with those guys. I think, and obviously I like Leishman too. I think he sets up really well for this course, and his strokes gained last week were good. I mean, he's actually had two really solid tee to green weeks in a row. So just might be a matter of him putting it together. He's putted pretty well on bent grass too, I want to say, over his career. So I just like the way this week kind of looks for him. Just the way he's been trending and the way he's coming in. Everyone else in this category is kind of like a question mark for me. I don't hate Oosthuizen this week. Like I said, I think off the tee is pretty important. That's kind of where he excels. But I don't know what he's going to do on the greens. He'll probably 4-putt or something like he usually does. So, someone asked about Justin Thomas.
Yeah, I get my 2 cents there. I mean, listen, he doesn't show up high in the model this week. He didn't last week. When I say something like that in this type of scenario, it kind of does lend itself to GPT consideration because, you know, obviously everyone in this field is talented. You never know when some of these guys can just find it. He's not going to burn you. So, ownership wise, I think he's decent. I don't think I'm going to have him for any cash, but I could definitely get behind him for some GPT just because he's going to be a lower owned player.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not going to be huge on him either. I think like the lack of par fives, the fact one of the par fives is unreachable for everyone.
Yeah.
It just takes away from eagle opportunities, takes away from his birdie opportunities, which is what you really want from Justin Thomas. That being said, I mean he made a ton of those at Oakmont still, so it's not like he can't birdie par fours. But this course in general, I know I read some data before we came on. The birdie points aren't as big a factor here as the placing points, basically, just the nature of the course. So I'm just really focusing on placing. I don't see Thomas as being a great fit for like a huge week or anything personally, but so I'll probably focus on other players.
Yeah, I was kind of mentioning that earlier. I mean, for us, outside of the U.S. Open, every single event we're generally weighing birdie or better in the 15 to 25% range, and this week we're only at 7.5%, and we're making that the same as bogey or worse because I saw the same thing. I don't know if you happen to see some of the things I posted on Twitter earlier, but the regression analysis we ran for DraftKings points was obviously stronger on birdie or better, which makes sense. But when you switch that over to finish position, it was bogey or worse, and it's usually more birdie or better for DraftKings points, but it's usually still birdie or better on finishing position, just to a lesser degree. So the fact that it was even more important, you've got to straddle both lines there, I think.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just typing a response there. Someone asking about the course comparison to Augusta. I mean, the green types are pretty similar. It's fast bent grass greens.
Yeah.
But, course layout wise, not really. I mean, there's tough par fours on Augusta, so I guess in that respect, the players will see some of the same types, but like Firestone is just a dead straight course for the most part. Augusta's way slopier. It's got way more elevation. It's got some dog legs at least for sure on some holes. It's more of like a right to left course. So there's a few similarities, but I wouldn't call them like a lot. But the greens are definitely similar. So some of the fastest we'll see this week, and it's not supposed to be rainy either. So I think we'll finally get to see like a fast, dry golf course, which will be interesting.
Yep. So just dropping down into the mid upper sevens. There's a guy that I think makes sense to get on, and there's another guy that I think could be a decent play. And I want to look at Russell Knox again. Obviously, he's played well in this type of event, field-wise and scenario-wise. He's been playing, extremely consistent golf. Doesn't have any course history, but I think that's a spot where you might be able to do well with him. What are your thoughts on him? I know he's a guy that you've kind of been on, at least chalk-wise here and there, but he's one of the better options for us in that sub-8 range.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, again. I think Knox and a guy like Duffner. I think if you look at the success that Jim Furyk's had at this course, that should give like a lot of support to guys like Knox, and Duffner's had success too, but to a guy like Knox in particular. I mean, to me, Russell Knox is a cheaper version of Jim Furyk this week. Just hits it dead straight most of the time. His short game is pretty tidy for the most part. He doesn't make any stupid mistakes except when he's on the 17th hole at TPC Sawgrass, so he's just a good player and consistent player. I know the course is pretty long, but it's if it plays dry, that's probably going to help him get some roll. So no, I mean I hope people stay off Russell Knox this week because to me he's probably the most consistent play in that range. The guy I'd want to get on. I like Lingworth a lot too. he just tends to be a little bit more up and down with his form. So, but he had a really good U.S. Open. So I like both those guys, to be honest.
Yeah. So moving on to the other guy in the sevens that and I just came across it to kind of think about it. He's got 7 starts here. We have him 11th in our course history ranking. He's 20th in that field in key stats. The form has been back and forth, but Paul Casey, I think, is a guy for GPP that could be interesting. I don't think many people are going to be too interested in him because of the form. But again, we don't have to weigh that into consideration with the cut. He's a guy that has shown to perform pretty well here, and the key stats are in his favor.
Yeah, I actually am probably going to use Paul Casey in my GPP lineup, so it's interesting you brought him up for GPPs because, yeah, he's the thing I like about him too is when he plays well, he'll get a top 10, he'll get a top 5. So, yeah, maybe he plays again. This breaks down to the type of tournament we're playing too. So, I mean, if Paul Casey goes out and shoots 77 on Monday, it's not the end of the world because he can still shoot, like he's capable of shooting 65 on Saturday. So I like the play. I mean, I like him for that perspective, but I mean, he's played tougher par 70s well before. Like he's conquered courses like this. If it gets a little bit dry, he hits it pretty high as well. So he can gain strokes off the tee. Perfect GPP pick in my opinion. So like I said, I like Lingworth and Knox for the consistency, but in a field like this where there's no cut, there's 4 rounds, you're guaranteed you're going to get Paul Casey for 4 rounds, unless he gets like food poisoning, like he seems to always do these days. But no, I mean I love it. He's a guy, like I said, I'm probably going to be targeting in my GPP lineup.
And another guy in the sevens, I can't seem to get away from. He's like I think he's still having as good a year as he's had. Is Charlie Hoffman at 7,100. I mean,
he's cheap.
Yeah, he's really cheap. I mean, he's ranked number 1 in points gained against price, averaging almost 15 points more than some of the price at 7,100. 8 or 9 cuts. His worst aspect is his average finish, but it still puts him 24th in the field in course history rank for us. I mean, his key stats there, the recent form is there. He's been keeping up with the higher end players throughout the whole season. So there's no reason for me to think that you're not getting a great deal at 7,100.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. You're getting a good deal on a player in a no-cut event, right? So I was kind of looking at Brandt Snedeker for the same reason, but I was kind of looking at both these guys, like Snedeker and Hoffman, for similar reasons. I think I do like Hoffman a little bit better on this course and just with what he's done. I mean, I think they could both pop up here, but Snedeker's obviously putting-wise. I mean, if the putter gets hot, but. Yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying. Like I feel both those guys are just way underpriced compared to seeing. We just talked up Lingworth and Knox, but I mean, why are Hoffman and Snedeker ranked $400 less than those guys? Like, I don't know. It just doesn't make really sense. I mean, Snedeker missed 1 cut. Hoffman's missed no cuts. So I don't know. Yeah, I think you're getting good value on those guys for sure. And at that price. Again, even if they finish 30th, it's not like the end of the world. So.
Yep. So let's see.
And while we're on this price range too, I mean, I assume Scott Piercy's kind of going to be the chalk this week. That's just the feeling I'm going to get from the U.S. Open. I mean, I think people just automatically kind of plug him in when they go down in that range and kind of forget about how good a player like Snedeker or Hoffman is. So probably get those guys at good ownerships too.
Yeah, I mean, Piercy's kind of average across the board in the 3 main, recent form, key stats course history. He's kind of like his average there, so he's in the middle of the pack for us. I mean, he's got 2 events here. The average finish is 39, so nothing too exciting. But price-wise, yeah, I think it makes sense in that range. Guy that I'm sure won't really be owned at all, but just happens to be showing up decent in our value rank, which basically means ability to perform based on their price in terms of what you need, cash and a GPP. Soren Kelsen, he has played here twice. kind of average results, but the recent form overall is pretty decent at 6,700. I think you take something like in the GPP side, Kelson, Hoffman, and Paul Casey, and then you can stack the top three with like if you want to go Kuchar, DJ, and one other guy above 9. You can make that happen.
Yeah, exactly. So who's the other guy you mentioned? Casey, Yeltsin, and
in that one, Hoffman.
Oh yeah, and Hoffman, right? Yeah, sorry, I thought I said someone else. But yeah, no. I mean, Yeltsin's a guy I obviously love for the U.S. Open for similar reasons. Plays tough courses pretty well. Got the course history here too. So he putted really well at the Masters too. So again, we're talking similar green types. Yeah, I mean 6,700. He's definitely the guy I kind of had noted for GPPs. I really like Willie McGirt too. I think I saw you guys like McGirt too this week.
He's our top ranked guy under 7.
Under 7, yeah. Yeah, and I'm not shocked after looking at his stats this week and seeing a little bit on him. So, really good all-around player. Just winning at Memorial, obviously, I think kind of lends credit to that. But yeah, I think for me, if I was making a cash game lineup, I'd probably go McGirt. If I was making a GPP lineup, yeah, I love Yeltsin this week for sure. He's proven he can get top finishes in tougher fields, which is what you want this week. So definitely like that.
Yeah, Danny Lee. I mean, he's the top guy in our third class, so he just kind of fits in there right under Hoffman. He's got 2 events here, average finishes, but we got him 13th in recent form, 12th in key stats. If you look at his event by event, where is he? I lost Danny Lee. 7,400, so there he is. Okay. You look at his event by event, obviously an average U.S. Open, an average Memorial, coming off a pretty hot stretch from Wells Fargo to Dean and DeLuca. So, I mean, the key stats are what keep me interested in a guy like him. The recent finishes have been okay, but at 7,400, and again, they're getting 4 rounds in. The key stats, in my eyes, give him a chance to at least give you one really hot round. Maybe maybe he shoots a 4 under one day and shoots even the rest of the way. It probably puts him in the top 15, basically, of course.
Yeah, for sure. That's kind of how he's been playing too. So obviously, nice to have the course history there. There's a lot of plays in this range. This is kind of the range I'm struggling with because, I mean, I really like Byung An just for the talent, but at the same time, you go up a little bit and you get guys who are so consistent with Knox and Lingworth being in good form and even Chappell. So this range for me it's tough. Like for picking and choosing. This is what I find tough about WGC events too, because there's so much talent. It usually gets clustered somewhere, and I feel like this week it's that kind of mid to low 7K range where there's just so many things, so many ways you could go, and none of them really feel that awful. So yeah, a lot of decisions to be made there.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, you look at guys, in the 7,000 range, you got to get past the point that when you see 7,000, you don't expect to see an average world golf ranking of 37, which I just summed up. I just did the average of the world golf ranking for everyone in the 7,000s, and it's 37. So obviously everyone in this field is going to be high ranked. There's only one player in the field that's not in the top 300 in the world golf ranking, and that might only be, that's this guy, no idea, Mikio Matsumura. I don't know really anything about him. I feel like I've heard the name once or twice, but
yeah. He's a Japan Tour grinder, so
yeah.
I think he won like the Bridgestone event on the Japan Tour, and that's how he qualified for this event. I think.
Gotcha.
So, I mean, I actually bothered to look up these guys, so
listen.
I'll share my 2 cents. Like,
yeah, you have to. I can't factor them into a model when there's not really any.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No. I mean, and that's the other. I mean. Again, I really dislike these WGC events just from like a scheduling and how they work with the regular tour. I mean, we're getting these guys like no one's ever heard of, who don't really factor into like majors, and it's like, why isn't Gary Woodland here? Why isn't Brandon Steele here? Why isn't Jonas Blixt here? Like, could we at least see some players who are going to be like factoring into like the yearly thing rather than giving some dude from Japan like one start? I mean, it just makes no sense. I mean, I don't know. I don't get it. So, anyways, these events are stupid, but they're not bad for DFS because yeah, they give you an elite field and a different perspective. So, anyways, off my tangent.
It's pretty amazing to see, how far Jimmy Walker's been falling.
Yeah, I know, right?
I don't mention because I have any reason to get behind him. I just, see him at 6,900, and it's just like, God, what's happened there?
Yeah, I mean, he always plays worse at this time of year, but maybe it's, like he didn't win earlier, and he didn't really play well at any of the majors. I mean, I guess he played okay at the Masters, but bombed the Players, bombed the U.S. Open. So it's a little strange to see him at 6,900, but yeah, it's again. I mean, I guess some people might play him just because he looks like a value, but I don't know. I mean, the guy's he's not like the straightest driver to begin with. So, getting off course here, like it's a little bit tighter. There's trees, there's pretty thick rough. I mean, I don't really like it. I'd rather just go with a safer play that I feel like has at least top 10, top 15 upside, because I just don't really see Walker getting it done this week.
Yeah, of course. Let's see. Other guys up in here. I mean, listen, I'm a Brandon Grace homer, and the model actually has him up there pretty decently because his stats in recent form is solid, but it's a lot. I look at 9,700 and it just doesn't feel right to me.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right because I always compare him to the other South Africans. And that's why I kind of brought up Louis, because he's the cheapest South African this week, and he's a little bit better. I feel like with just off the tee than Grace. I could be wrong about that, but I think his stats might be a little bit better. Anyway, that's kind of where he excels, and if you're going to take a shot with one of them, why not just use the cheapest one? Oosthuizen's tee to green at least was strong at the U.S. Open. He's actually got better course history than Grace too. So yeah, I'm kind of with you on Grace. I love the guy. He competes really well when he gets near the top, but kind of asking him maybe a little bit too much this week, just on a course that he hasn't really excelled at, and coming off a U.S. Open, and now he's priced this high. I just don't feel the need to pay up for him.
Yeah, I mean, Oosthuizen, you're absolutely right with that. They're both ranked fairly high, but Oosthuizen's actually 5th in the field in strokes gained off the tee, whereas Grace is 11th. And he also beats him in approach. The only thing is, Grace is actually 1st in the field in overall strokes gained tee to green because he's also good at the around the green because
way better around the green than Oosthuizen.
Yeah, it's not even close. So.
Louis is another guy who changed his putting stroke this year. He's got some fucking modified claw, like pinky grip. So I don't know what these guys are doing, but yeah. So if Oosthuizen's a guy, like if he just gets on fire on the greens, he'll win this event. I mean, but I mean, me saying that, like, I don't know if he's going to do it. There's probably like a 2% chance it happens, but if he can actually figure the putter out, he'll win. I mean, he's that good.
He's 47th in the field in strokes gained around the green and 53rd in strokes gained putting. So,
yeah, and there's 60, and 7 of them suck. So he's basically last.
Yeah, and there's no strokes gained data in recent form for the 2 Asian guys, KT Kim and Andrew Johnston. So
yeah, so he's not putting well. Yeah, but like I said, there's always hope with Louis because if he gets on fire, I mean, like, man, the other part of his game is always on. So, anyways, but yeah, I agree with you about Brandon Grace 100%. Like the guy, but just not in this field at that price for me.
And I feel slightly mistaken because the putting has actually gotten a little better for Reed, and I mentioned this earlier. It's not terrible; it's gotten better, but at the same time, his approach has gotten a little worse. That's the main thing that it's fallen off. I mean, he basically started putting slightly better. Whereas I would say if a month ago he was putting like he did the last couple of weeks, he'd be really factoring in. But now he's found the way to putt a little better, and the approach has fallen off. So I think I was a mistake in looking at the numbers there earlier. So I wanted to mention that.
He's grinding. Like he is close. I mean, you feel like it's like this with a lot of guys, but I mean, you feel like it's just one part of his game that just needs to come together in 1 week. So I mean, we felt like this. I mean, obviously you guys have because you've been on Reed a lot, but even I just noticed. I mean, all year. I mean, it just feels like he's one thing away. He just needs a little bit better putting, or his approaches need to be a bit better, but. Yeah, I mean, you don't get that many top tens without playing pretty well. So it'll be interesting to see what he does this week. Yeah.
So Kaufman, I can't really say much with conviction on Kaufman. If you look at what he's been doing, obviously he's still coming back from a little bit of uncertainty with wrist and injury and stuff like that. But last week, seemed to snap out of him. I mean, he's kind of just throwing darts. I mean, 10th at Quicken, 125th at the Open, 20th at Memorial, 113th Demon Luke, 116th Players, 140th Zurich. I mean, maybe you can throw out those times in May because of the injury and he's just getting back. And if you look at it that way, sure, maybe a guy like Kaufman gets beat up at the U.S. Open, but he's really sandwiched to 20th and a 10th at the Memorial and Quicken Loans. So he might not be a bad choice. I mean, I feel like he's the guy that could give you the most benefit from being a 4-round guy because, who knows, maybe he goes out and shoots 1 under on day 1. He seems like he's in it. He goes out and shoots like 80 for no reason on day 2, but then comes back for the weekend and you still have him. I think he's probably the prototypical guy to give you both ends of that.
I think, yeah, it can definitely go both ways with him this week. I feel like the thing about Kaufman is I feel like if he has one bad round, he's probably bound to have 3 and just mail it in because that's sometimes it just seems like his personality. So at the same time, you're right. I mean, you're going to get 4 rounds from him, which is nice. So you just don't know if you'll get the bounce back. But yeah, he was throwing darts last week. You're right. So
there's no scenario where like he shows up and I think he's contending and factoring all 4 days. And when I look at guys in the lower range, you never can expect them to do that, but you want to have a feeling that that's the case. And I don't see a scenario where Kaufman comes out in this field in this course and he sits on the leaderboard for 4 straight days and makes you feel good about it. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if someone like Kisner did, or like you're saying, Keltson, like other guys in this price point. Like I'm not expecting them to, but he's just not one of the guys that I would feel like it's most likely to occur.
Yeah, pretty much the same way. I feel like if you're using Smiley, you're hoping for a couple big rounds, and like you said, you're probably maybe like a top 20 at the end of it. But yeah, I like the upside of the guys better on this course, I think.
I mean, I got to take Kirk over Kaufman at that price.
Yeah, me too. No, for sure. Kirk was definitely a guy I'd take over him. I think I was looking at this whole range from like 71 to down to Yeltsin, and it's kind of tough to rank because, like on the face of it, Kaufman and Walker look like the best value, just because of what they usually bring and birdies and they can probably reach out that shorter par 5. But I think overall the course with standings, I probably rank them lower than most of those guys. So I don't know. Maybe that's the strategy I'm rolling with this week. Like you said, reducing the birdie percentage kind of in your weight and stuff like that. But I agree. I agree with how you're kind of describing Smiley this week. So. Yeah, someone mentioned the ownership of Kaufman. I feel like 10% sounds about right to me.
The 8 to 11, I was actually commenting on the higher end for maybe Grace. So it just happened to come in after that question. So.
Oh, okay.
But
So
you
for
know what?
Grace,
I would agree though as well that he's
about slightly above 10%. Yeah. Yeah, he'll be popular, but maybe not like super popular, just because there's so many other sort of value plays in that range. Yeah, I think Grace about 8%, just because of the price and stuff. Yeah, I mean he's with Kuchar and Furyk, yeah, so he probably won't be super highly owned. So are there any guys if we're making stars and scrubs lineups, who's a guy under 6,500 you'd target?
Way down there. I mean, obviously the closest to that we already mentioned McGirt at 68, but if we're going to creep down below that, you know, I don't mind giving a shot to KT Kim.
Yeah.
You know, he's got just because he has 2 finishes here that were pretty strong. He played here in 11 and 12, and he finished 6th and 24th. So, you know, it's not too recent. It's not anything, but you know, I know he's a guy that's shown up a little bit for other people. I mean, he missed his only cut on tour recently, but yeah, that's a guy I wouldn't mind kind of taking a risk with if you're gonna do it. But if you want to feel a little more comfortable, you get down in that range. Davis Love the third, not playing too hot recently, but you know, years ago he was playing extremely well on this course. Has a lot of strong finishes here. He's at 5,700. So I think that's interesting. You know, I feel like you're getting most of that value, like you mentioned, in those low 7s. So yeah, I don't feel a need to go way below there more than maybe one person.
Yeah. It's. I mean, if I was making like multiple lineups, I'd probably make some like extreme stars and scrubs. It's not a great week for that, just from the perspective of I don't feel like the bottom tier has as much upside as it usually does because the top tier, there's so many elite players, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, like a usual tour event, you kind of have a top 5%, and then there's a big drop-off, and there's not that much difference between, like, the 80th percentile and, like, the 10th percentile. I mean, those 10th percentile guys, we see them pop up in regular tour events every year. I think it's more of an outlier for a guy like Nathan Holman to pop up in a field like this. So I get that, like roster construction wise, it looks good, but and you get 4 rounds, but you still need those guys, those scrubs, to finish in the top, you know, at least the top 40, top 30. So that being said, I don't hate Vaughn Taylor this week.
No.
At 5,900, he's played this course a few times. It was a while ago, but setup-wise, you know, he's been playing a bit better, and he's generally had pretty good par 4 scoring stats over his career too. So, if the ball striking's like back on for him, then I could see him doing okay here. You know, like still has strong approach to green stats, still pretty strong tee to green. His putting is pretty awful, to be honest, but like when he's on, he can definitely handle a course like this and pop up with an okay result. So I'd probably go with him as like my first choice as like an extreme stars and scrubs guy. Maybe look at Jim Herman for the same idea, but I don't know. I mean, if you want to take a shot with Bowditch, I guess he's there.
Yeah, I mean, I saw some comments on that earlier. I mean, I think a lineup you could go Day and Scott and sprinkle that with Hoffman, McGirt, Kelson, and Kirk. You know, and I think you're probably going to feel pretty good about the ownership on the lower end there with guys that, you know, who knows, but you know they're going to get 4 rounds, and any of them can kind of show up with how they've been playing recently. So I'm just kind of like putting together some lineups here with those guys in the upper 6s, lower 7s. See how I feel about it. I think I feel better about maybe dropping one of those lower end guys really low and getting 3 top end guys instead of doing 2 and 4. But
yeah.
it might be a little tougher than I think.
Yeah, it is tough. I mean, we could just go through one here quickly. We, you know, if you go like Day, Scott, and Kuchar, well, that only leaves you 58.
That makes it tough, yeah.
That's too That's really extreme.
I mean,
But
that's the thing. You can't. I don't think you can go Day Scott in a third, but you can. You could go. You could go Day, and then like a couple guys in the nines, maybe low
right.
nines, and
So
make it
like
work.
Kuchar and Koepka or something like that. That leaves
Yeah.
you.
Or
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at Scott and Kuchar. Um, you go Scott, Kuchar. If you want to play with Reed, that gets you, three guys that can probably win or at least finish top five. You got 21 grand left, so you got about 7,000 left per.
Yeah, exactly. And then you don't have to, dropping down once is I'd feel more comfortable with. I was just kind of typing in my thoughts on Matt Jones. I feel like he's another guy you could target just because someone posted, yeah, he's like the king of the random top 10. So in a no-cut event, I wouldn't mind taking a shot with him that he does do a random top 10 because he has popped up in more elite events. So, but,
yeah, I mean, he finished 31st in his only start in this event. So,
yeah, it's not horrible. I mean, it's in the top half of the field because it's usually 70 players, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, if he finishes 31st this week and you have him as your worst guy, like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And really, his form actually hasn't been that bad. I just realized. Yeah, I forgot he was 20th at the Memorial. So I mean, missed the cut last week. But he only missed it by like a stroke, so that's not too bad either. So yeah, I mean, I do like Matt Jones's upside. I mean, obviously, if this was a cut, I probably wouldn't be on him. But yeah, I don't hate it for GPPs for sure.
How about let's see who else we're looking at here. I look at Phil Haas and Kevin Na, kind of like numbers-wise the same exact thing, data-wise. Obviously, Haas a little more price-wise, but I'm not too excited. But none of them scare me in terms of being bad plays, actually.
Yeah. Again, I mean, guys, I wouldn't feel awful about putting in a cash game lineup. I think I'd definitely prefer Knob just for the price probably. But yeah, I mean, I think either of those guys make for good cash targets. Even really, I think Knob is probably even like a decent GPP target. He's always a little bit owned, but just because of the price, I mean, he doesn't seem to bomb out of these events. Like that's one reason why I really like Kevin Na. Like if he's playing, even if he's playing poorly, he's gonna grind it out for you. So in an event like this, that's kind of important because instead of getting like 55th, he'll grind you out like a 35th or a 25th. It just seems like he's always capable of doing that, no matter how badly he started. I mean, the U.S. Open's a perfect example. He opened with 75, and he grinded his way back to like 7th. I mean, there's not many players on tour that would do that for you. So it sounds a little bit silly, but even at the Masters, I mean, the guy shot 85 in round 3 and came back with a 72 the next day. Like he's able to blow. Even as weak as some people like to say he is mentally, he's actually able to like just drop a bad round and come back, which is really important in these events. Because like I said, I feel like a guy like Smiley Kaufman might not be able to do that, but a guy like Kevin Na, I feel way comfortable that he could. So.
And if you're looking at a high-level view of his course history, I mean, it's a little misleading because he had a bad finish in 2012, but the last 2 years he's finished 15th and 23rd at this event. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, the last 2 years, like I think in 2012, he was kind of in the tank. Like he almost took a year off golf basically after that. So the last 2 years is probably a better reflection of kind of who he is as a golfer right now too. So yeah, I mean, I think I don't want to say he's like a lock for a top 25, but I'd feel comfortable saying he's going to top 25 than say Snedeker, who I have no idea what he's going to do this week.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we put out there, I don't know if you saw it, but how players are playing leading into the history of the event. If you look at Na, leading into this event in 2012, get an idea on form. he had a strong finish at the Greenbrier, but he had a terrible, almost last place in the Open Championship heading in. So, I can't really say if he was playing well or not, because obviously Greenbrier back then is not a great field. But you look at how he was playing heading into this event in 2014. He got a 12th at the U.S. Open, 52nd at Greenbrier, 13th at John Deere, 54th at the Open. So he's kind of been plotting, playing average, showing up decently. So yeah, the form now seems a little more reasonable than what he was in 12.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Someone's just asking about Mickelson.
Yeah, I was going to bring him up earlier because, he's Phil Mickelson, but nothing got me excited enough to really do so.
Well, I was just saying, I mean, he's kind of like Dustin on this course. I mean, I feel like, I don't know if he actually has come out and said this, but I feel like this course is just like, it's not a Phil Mickelson. I mean, it's just dead straight. He can't cut corners either. He can't really get creative. He's just got to hit the ball in the fairway, which is like the thing he does the worst. So, yeah, and his results reflected. I mean, this is arguably like the worst results he's had of any tournament I've seen for Mickelson this year. So, that being said, he probably won't be more than like 5% owned. So,
yeah,
but I won't have any of them.
There's nothing. Oddly enough, considering he was having such a solid year, I mean, he's missed 4 of his last 7 cuts, Phil.
That's true, isn't it? Yeah.
Oddly enough, his trend score rank, which I always have a hard time explaining to people, we don't actually factor it into the model because he's tied for first in trend score because what that means is relative to how he's been playing, he's on the way up. It's not necessarily relative to everyone else. It's just have the stats been an upward trend for him. But it's not like he means it's better than anyone. It just means relative to himself, he's improving. So
right.
That's where.
Interesting. Yeah, not a huge fan of Phil. If there's anyone else we haven't touched on here. JB Holmes. Any interest in JB Holmes for you? Oh, someone just typed JB Holmes as I said that.
I mean, he's another guy I wanted to mention earlier because I feel like I just feel like he's been disappointing me recently.
Yeah.
Every week that I've been on him, he hasn't gotten it done for me. I generally see him in an event like this, and I think, well, he's actually a premier player that people aren't on as much, but he hasn't been giving me the type of results. I mean, the course history here has been average. It's not like he's come and lit up his course or anything like that. He's never finished He's never finished inside the top 25, and he's never finished worse than 50th. So, interestingly enough.
I kind of went over his course history because I'm interested in him because he has played well in a couple tougher events like the Memorial and the Masters, but he struggled to put together 4 rounds here. Like he's shot some 67s here, he's shot some 68s, but he's never really gone like 5-4-minute rounds. He's always followed up like 271s or something. So obviously he has trouble like avoiding bogeys on this course. Probably more just to the way he plays off the tee than anything. I don't hate it. I think I'd much rather go up to Paul Casey for GDPs. And like I said, I would use him in a cash game just because there's just a good chance he's going to get you like a 33rd when you can go down to like Wingworth or Knox. You probably have a better chance of like a top 20. So GPPs, I guess I don't need them, but I'd probably rather go to Paul Casey.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I even mentioned Lingworth earlier in that price range.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, unless there's any last minute questions, I guess we can wrap her up for this week. I mean, next week's event is canceled, so I mean, I don't know what DraftKings is going to do. I assume they're going to put out a big bigger tournaments for like the Scottish Open, so that'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean it's a decent event because you got some good players in it, but I'm excited to feel like I have a bit of a week off. I mean, I'm excited to have it. Excited that it's the week before a major. I feel like I can prep for an event that is probably the hardest to handicap of the 4 majors, just because of the data and the way it works on all the types of players. So definitely excited to have a lighter load next week, just leading into that.
It's hard to handicap too because you have to take the weather effect so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the event where you get on the wrong side of the draw and you're done before it even starts. So yeah, it can be a tough one. It always seems to I do a lot of betting. I mean, obviously I play a lot of DFS too, but like that's an event I've never really been able to nail down very well. So actually I was on Leishman last year, but he lost the playoffs.
Oh, I know. That was he was a guy that.
He actually he had a putt to win on 17 or 18, but anyways, yeah, he sucks.
I mean, we had him and my brother had him in some pretty big milli lineups, but at like 2% owned.
Yeah, no, he was like I thought I was like the only one on Leishman the Bridgestone last year. Is awesome.
Yeah.
But it could all be fun. Alright, so you can, anyways, guys, you can find me on Twitter at the Passy Guy. You can find Steve at Metrics. Check out his website, Passy Metrics. And have a good week. We'll talk to you soon.
Take it easy. Good luck, guys.